I have here 8 notebooks. All 8 of them I'm going to read through. There is pure awareness, and then there is conceptual awareness. There is taking care of those who can't intend to do so themselves. Complaints are really desires. Prevention of phenomena takes aversive conditioning. Increase in the repetition of behavior equals decrease in attention required for the behavior. All life forms, from microbes to elephants, evolved to protect themselves from common environmental threats, and to move themselves to environments promising continued survival. The mechanism responsible for environmental interaction in every creature is the brain. The body of the being is animated by its sensory organs, so evolved to permit the form's functional life. Cognitive function is only functional with emotional potentials, discharges, and attachments. Emotion imbues thought with sensation and determines how intentional ends can be thought about and acted on. Positive emotion is linked to physical reward, and negative emotion to punishment. Positive valence is responsible for attraction to ends, and negative valence to aversive ends. Positive and negative valence affects how easily an association will be made. PV increases the probability of an intentional association. That's positive valence increases the probability of intentional association. That's PV plus or minus N equals N plus P times IA. An increase in NV, negative valence, increases intentional association. A high intensity NV calls for response, and thus some form of intentional preoccupation. Reading is the ability to hold many words as one and combine them in a sequence, triggering a mental event. Technocracy may develop to a point where everything previously bought becomes producible by purely self-sufficient efforts. Free energy, free housing, free education, free production of nutrients leaves only entertainment capital and cause the economy to plummet. However, life would be optimally sustainable, a counterintuitive truth. Technocracy means an increase in self-sufficiency and decreases in economic productivity and decrease of organized social affairs. I don't know what that compatible was. Self-extreme sufficiency is not possible in a capital economy. All people can't farm, or produce goods that are needed to live with modern-day comfort. It would seem as though science is a movement back to the days of extreme self-sufficiency, becoming ever the more actual with technology that makes production more easily self-initiated. The evolution of technocracy will continue till the realities reach, and capital economy production will exist until then as well. When a musical piece is too simple, we tend not to like it, finding it trivial. When it's too complex, we tend not to like it, finding it unpredictable. Daniel J. Levington. The majority of inferences causing emotion provocation are verbal. Question is, are most social restrictions upheld because of democratic agreement? What are the differences of freedom in a child from Africa and a woman from suburban California? What determines these differences in liberty? What are the places of science in everyday life for a person who's not part of the scientific community? What is it called when you take advantage of something? What is the science of understanding how nature designs? It must be a physics of form. Experimental psychologists should ask this question: how would you devise an experimental condition that would cultivate blank? And that blank can be filled in by revenge, forgiveness, any emotion, any personal experiences. Language is consciousness. What does that mean? The question is, why do you need attention? Why do you thrive off of it? Is happiness the ultimate good of mankind? Man seems to enter two states, primarily, these being comfort and suffering. What does punishment do? It's probably a way of reverse conditioning.
Yo, check out that shit, yo. Dude.
Question: how to turn a neutron into a proton or electron? That would be good to know. You can't have more than what the Earth can give you. You can't have more than what the Earth can give you. No other terrestrial life form has the ability to unify science to place all phenomena into an absolute concept precisely matching the natural world. It is this human anomaly and compulsion that comes with it that makes the human mind a different species of consciousness than its surrounding life forms. It is that since life is as social and nature is as technologically examinable, it is in humans a unity of science has some bearing in the conceptual reality of the mind. If humans ever observe another life form from a different planet, it must have likeness, superiority or inferiority of physical or mental capacities. I think many humans are like cows or sheep, grazing and living automatically without much thought put into the place of nature humans are in, and what can be done to modify that place to reduce suffering, increase sustainability for the long term for their species. Many people aren't humanitarian. I made a 3-variable logical diagram of production, supply, and costs. These can all be correlated effectively as those variables exist realistically in an economy. Money shrouds what life really does, which is contribute to society. If anything, man's purpose is contribution. money can be reasonably handled to decrease the probability of war. Would you rather offer a man $5,000, or would you rather say, let's go to war? This is going to sound bizarre. Man should not be subservient to history, but improvise in spite of it, in phantom society with an idealistic frontier, bound to realistic approbation of environmental subsidiaries. The more effort put into something, the more satisfaction you gain from it. Money is exchange material. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to cause negative effects. Public law enforcement may prohibit man from causing grievances such as thievery, murder, abuse, rape, and rival war. Man is liable to trust democratic law and money more than reason. Military is ostensibly law enforcement. War is but a byproduct of one government body exerting its accumulated strength over another in hopes of the other's reform. That would not be reform, but adaptation or accommodation to their dogmatic beliefs, to their ideology, to their order of government. Man may only use what his environment has to offer to reach destinations he has in mind. And it's true for all life forms and what environments they inhabit. Man's interest should be survival of the species. Money is important for divisibility. How is it important for divisibility? That's the question. Debt is certainly not a cause for decreased wealth unless the money paid back to the federal bank is destroyed. If it's put into pockets, it hasn't gone anywhere. The principal endeavor of mathematical economics is to interconnect correlative equations that assist in regulating and predicting economic events. That's book one. The question is, does the system move towards more disorder or more order? Cooperation is many people reaching desirable ends. Competition, many people trying to reach limited desirable ends. BASE is biological, astronomical, scientific economics. What it does is it researches the connections in matter from the atom up to spiral galaxies. Indicators of emotion: anger, raised fists, searing tone, huffed expression, lowered brow, absconding with heavy steps. Fear, high voice, open eyes. I can't keep all my eyes open. Trembling, directed alertness. Positively surprised, sudden pronouncement of agreement. Yay! Woohoo! Oh my god, yes! To learn is to do or not to do. To be or not to be. It doesn't have to be that way. You can learn to do or not to do without having to be that way. The main function of philosophy is to sharpen and clarify the concepts employed by science. Don't strap an idea into a straitjacket of your mind. Let it be filled with newness every day. Not every day, whenever. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Goal-oriented entities are minds. All goals are purpose. All minds have purpose. Time relative planning, the mental creation of objectives to be completed, which one after become part of one's collective self. So if you have pizza, that pizza becomes part of your collective self at 2 o'clock. Remember the time that you're having that pizza at. Base. Biological, astronomical, scientific economics is big science. Gigantic ideas covering the most minute and the most massive matters of reality. It requires flexibility, debate, subjectivity and objectivity, mathematics and philosophers, imagination and knowledge, advocacy, direction, organization, work and funds. It is the ultimate search for unified integration of information. It is the alpha and omega of the universe and all that comes between. It is the science, observation, and conceptualization of all, for the purposes of strengthening the attentions of the mind, body, and its creations, as we are man. Science, or truth, I don't know if I said this one yet, I'm just going back to it. Truth is internal reality matching with external reality, a duplication. A symmetry. Rationality is greatly dependent on the resources that can be used to fulfill needs. Get the cupboards in there. In the scientific economy, what is more relevant than money to qualify for a position is skill. The gradient for qualification is skill, not the amount of money you have. There should be people that appoint as signers who assign people to positions which they are qualified for because of their experiences. As the child is unborn, so is all creation at the beginning of a universe. Where is the womb of the history of an invention? Is it in the mind or is it in the mother? The process of creation takes place at every moment. The bonds of a writer's consciousness are fixed by the science of the times, and beyond this a writer is but a skeptic pained by the doubts that emerge with sights of possible futures. The The universe is arranged in such a design as to produce consciousness. That's the anthropomorphic, I think that's how you pronounce it, principle. The memory of a person is a character, be objective or obtuse, possessing experienced characteristics, which are subject to becoming a referent, or a cause for motivation and tension towards or away the referent's behaviors or qualities. A person may use an ex-boyfriend as a cause to think of a present male figure in a positive or negative personal tone, identifying with him at first pressured by the subjectivity brought on by her relative personal experiences. This is relationship learning. Become averse to qualities or attracted to qualities because of past relationships. And it makes you a different person every time you go through another relationship. Makes you know what relationships you really want. Know this, it is a bias, an experience. If something is awesome, it's positive. If something is awful, it's negative. Doctors should look at symptoms, what the disease is, the treatment, and the cure. Becoming oneself should be growing into wealth and wisdom and not merely change. If I am not myself now, when will I be? Psychoanalysis is the attempt to disconnect abnormalities, psychodeviations from one's psyche. The psyche modifies itself when there are causes present that reveal the most concise and free forms of mental content. Ails of the psychic life are terminable when one has freedom from them. A changed state of mind made afresh with insight. A shift is both possible with one's own psychoanalyzing, with assuaging and intellectual efforts of a psychologist. Pantheism's error is anthropomorphizing the universe. That doesn't need to be done. It doesn't. But it can be. Why not? Actually complicates things, that's why not. The child's grasping reflex is itself a rationalist mechanism, as is a bird's pecking reflex, a dog's teething behavior. The reflex brings about primes, the targeting or selection of things to satisfy the desires, which gives movement to the reflexive process. It is rationalistic when applied to the acquisition of ends which satisfy the reflex's desires. Reflexes exist to obtain satisfying ends, and prime the self to distinguish between satisfactory and dissatisfactory ends. The ego has the greatest access to itself through introspection. Minimum expenses equals maximum profit. Maximum resources equals, with maximum consumption equals maximum profit. So profit is dependent on consumption. One does not need proof of their own identity, as the world will spin and life will continue lacking a known identity. If I cannot move the heavens, I will raise hell! It's basically a joke. False reason for result is superstition. Together, many of them together, is religion. Partially psychotic religions, religions that hold the superstitious beliefs. Every function of a person is an evolved instinct. Instincts operate in accordance with the conditioning of them. An instinct becomes stronger the more it is conditioned to be. The theory of emergence states the universe exists as an automation. That's how it is. That's how you look at it from determinism. There are choices that are available, but those are determined by causes. Let us imagine a smaller universe and it having much life on it. In it, number of alien contacts per planet would increase. Analogous to such a universe is our own landmass, though it could be all water. And what races do is unite or divide, simple addition and subtraction applied to species-driven realities. Such a law is applied to all animals, the law of relation. All things can be related to others, causing aggregation or segregation, dependent on the interaction of combination cause. Some animals are dependent on other animals. Bees are dependent on flowers. There are some animals in the food chain that are dependent on other animals in the food chain. It would be hard to think of something in nature that isn't dependent on something else. There's the dependencies and the results of those dependencies. All citizens are rational agents or deviants. Deviants, like me, need governmental intervention or else suffer irreconcilably from their atypical physical or mental disposition. The government then works as a supportive tool to make life livable for those who cannot labor or act in their benefit in accord with social norms. The government is a rational body of people and procedures enacted to serve individual cases of dysfunction and irregularity, empowered by taxation, benefiting both the deviant and rational individuals at once. A rationalistic government body does good in assisting citizens who cannot self-sufficiently provide for themselves or their families, creating jobs for those that help. That's humanistic as well. Government institutions are rationalistic to two degrees, as so far as they benefit individual wealth and labor economy, and as so far as they inhibit the decay of the labor economy. Laws and procedures are enacted to normalize the total economy and should be thought of as beneficial as much as they Their existence alters general well-being of the population. The function of all government apparatus is normalization, homeostasis of the economy. What is behavior? I'll answer. Behavior is an organism's actions upon the world. Wouldn't it also be, there has to be two different kinds of behavior then. An organism's actions upon the world and the actions of the world upon the organism. Let's make the distinction there. They need classified names, which I don't have. Any good ideas are welcome. I was nuts when I wrote that. Wow, done on book 2. I guess I haven't written that much. I don't even think this book has anything in it. The power of rationality is the annihilation of man's wild instincts, which though modernly beneficial, it's also whimsical, for the wild is resting all around, and it may be that it will return in another age, not so bound to a high level of rationality. Today there is law and punishment, enforced by the paid. In a world without money or commerce, there is the brute and the untamed, where impulse rules over the avoidance of the animalistic. That's a Hobbesian way of looking at things. I think I'll read this poem. Celestial freedom, balanced in chaotic dreams, sporadic things, keeper of keys to doors to pleasing scenes, player poised among annexed feelings, starry ceilings, withholder of magical cards, with splendid dealings, celebrated anatomy, given natural designs, captured in cosmic confines. That is called a Hmong. Empty. That's book 3. How many more books does that make? 5. This one's nice and full. Just how I like it. Prioritization, to arrange objectives in order of importance. Assessment, to make a judgment of the value of a thing or objective. So assessments should come before prioritization. Emotional assignment, to assign an emotion to a thing. Emotional arousal, to be aroused to emotion by something. Emotional attachment, having placed emotion to something before. Relationships equal being associated with. They also exist as a bundle of events. They do. Between two things. That's relationship. It's the same thing almost as a correlation. The relationship is a correlation. Rationality isn't just about doing good. It's also about deterring bad choices. Life is the creation of yourself. Your success and failures both determine who you will be. People look out their windows at the vast cosmos and see everything that isn't them, and think how small and insignificant they are, even though everything which isn't them is there to help them to know themselves. When an admiring eye falls onto a painting, it sees the parts as complementary to each other. It's as if all the parts give each point of the painting its luster. If one stroke were lacking from the painting, the entirety of it would look different, and would take away from what the painter was trying to reveal. Science is the attempt to make everything which exists or occurs an understandable mechanical process, but when men conclude the universe is a chaotic sequence of events, such failure to calculate the reasons for them inhibits his science. Either the universe is entirely mechanical as to allow scientific explanation to explain all, or the universe to some extent is non-scientific in some way. To conclude occurrences are beyond human comprehension of them is very non-scientific to conclude that. If the universe is completely scientific, all things can be explained in the given, which includes the mind and all matter and forces beyond it. Don't question free will, question what your intentional ends are. Constant conjunctions are laws. Fire causes smoke. Electricity causes shock to open body. Trees grow in dirt. Literate men can read. Variant conjunctions aren't always necessarily how things have to be. A pen pushes a ball. Man sits on a carpet. Conjunctions are interacting structures causing logical connection. Constant conjunctions are specific causes and effects that always occur together and can't occur in any other way. An organization is a group of individuals who want or are working towards common ends, or ends which are distributed differently to the members of the organization so as to collectively achieve desirable results. One thing about human sociality is that there's the ability to form a large amount of organizations. You won't see this in other animals. You can form organizations that stand for doing certain things. Even religions are really organizations with certain ends that they all wish to have results with. Creationists think of their existence as contingent, and God's existence as necessary. Contingent means existence dependent on, and without dependency, non-existence. However, man's existence is necessary, in that he is conscious of his place in the eternal cosmos. Cognitive dualism. The mind can attach pain or pleasure to any event and manifest phenomena using pain and pleasure, movement, and reason. Religious ritual, routine, and thoughtless habit puts a damper on creativity. Man orbits around repetition. There is correspondence, which is the mind matching with reality. And then there is the repetition that strengthens that potential correspondence. So you get knowledge and consciousness from the repetition of experiences. A child doesn't have any potential correspondence. All he can do is act reflexively. Those are his potential reflexes. Religious experience is the conscious hint of the infinity of man's own nature, that the word God is, and the word God is this infinity. This is by philosopher Feuerbach. Feuerbach. That's Feurbach. Feuerbach. Every individual is an entity of the collective consciousness. An individual has their own conscious experience that may differ greatly from others. The collection of these experiences allows for an individual to derive an understanding of human consciousness, and doing so understand various aspects of consciousness not personally experienced by their single individuality. For single is redundant. The troubles and perils I experience may not be the same as another's, yet I can comprehend how another's personal experience is possible given the determining factors that manifest their personal experiences. I may think of another person's reaction and normal reactions, interests not applicable to my own reactions to similar experience, but this defense does not make it impossible to emphasize with experiences which are of the collective.